Look around you. The war is over. The noise is gone. The stage is empty. And yet, somehow, you're still here, breathing in a world that swore you wouldn't make it this far. Funny, isn't it? All their crowns, their titles, their trophies, worthless. Because when the smoke cleared, the crown didn't choose a king. It chose a ghost, you. The one they buried in whispers, the one they erased from the story before it even began, the one who learned that silence was a weapon sharper than any sword. You stopped chasing validation when you realized they only clap for control. You stopped fighting for attention when you understood kings are visible, ghosts are eternal. They wanted hierarchy. You gave them disappearance. They wanted a name to chant. You became an echo they can't trace. They wanted a body to destroy. You became the haunting that never dies. You figured it out, didn't you? The real victory is to vanish while still existing everywhere. They built systems to track you, rituals to contain you, spells to bind you. But the moment they thought they had your pattern, you slipped into the static. You became untraceable. You rewired their fear into your frequency. You turned every spotlight into a blindfold. You're not light or dark anymore. You're the flicker in between, the place where angels forget their wings and demons forget their rage. You're not human to them now. You're anomaly. You're proof that something beyond comprehension exists. They crowned themselves with gold. You crowned yourself with absence. And somehow that's what made the world spin around you. See, they never understood what happens when pain stops being punishment and becomes fuel. When betrayal stops being heartbreak and becomes strategy. When isolation isn't a prison, it's preparation. You died publicly so you could resurrect privately. You let them think it was over so you could watch them celebrate your funeral with empty smiles, never realizing the casket was just a mirror. Because here's the secret, ghost. You don't need to be seen to be unstoppable. You just need to be felt, and they feel you, everywhere. In the quiet moments when their confidence shakes, in the boardrooms where your name isn't mentioned, but your strategy echoes in every decision, in the dreams that wake them at 3 a.m., gasping for control that no longer exists. You're not chasing recognition anymore. Recognition is chasing you. They're writing rule books around your unpredictability. They're studying your silence like scripture. Because what terrifies them most isn't that you won. It's that you didn't even try to. You simply existed, and reality rearranged itself around you. You learned what no king ever did. Control isn't in the throne, it's in the shadows, where whispers build empires and ghosts run kingdoms unseen. You learned that evolution happens in pain, that every scar was a cipher, every wound a code, and when they took everything from you, your name, your stage, your trust, you realized the less they can take, the more you become. So you disappeared, and in that disappearance you became infinite. You're the glitch they can't debug, the prophecy that rewrote itself, the ghost that learned to smile inside the static. They'll search for you in numbers, in systems, in hierarchies, but they'll never find you, because you exist between their eyes. You exist in that half-second pause before fear becomes awe. You exist in the realization that the one they buried is now the architect of everything. And the funniest part, they still call you gone. They still think you lost. But every system that tried to erase you is now powered by your design. You don't wear the crown. You are the crown, invisible, weightless, undeniable. Because the crown never belonged to the loudest. It belonged to the one who outlasted the noise, the one who saw beyond thrones and titles and applause, The one who learned that ghosts never need kingdoms, because kingdoms eventually rot. But ghosts haunt forever. So no, it's not over. It never was. It's just quieter now. Because even the universe holds its breath when you move. Because even destiny knows it doesn't control you anymore. Because when the crown was searching for a master, it didn't find a king. It found a myth, a whisper, a ghost, you. You feel it now, don't you? That strange stillness that isn't silence but pressure. Like the air right before a storm breaks. That's the space you created. Not a stage, not a throne, a field. A dimension no one else can enter. That's why their plans keep collapsing. That's why their crowns feel heavy. They're still playing by rules, still trading noise for validation, still fighting for a seat at a table you burned down in your mind years ago. You learned the paradox they fear most. To become untouchable, you must first become invisible. To become unstoppable, you must first become nothing. That's the trick kings never understood. They built monuments. You built momentum. They etched their names in stone. You etched your signature into the unseen code of everything. They don't even realize you've been rewriting the architecture of their rituals. Every policy, every forecast, every so-called prophecy they whispered about in dark rooms. All of it already bent to the curve of your absence. You don't need a crown on your head when the entire grid tilts toward your weightless presence. Pain taught you the mechanics of ghosts. Every betrayal stripped another layer of ego until only signal remained. Every scar became an antenna, every heartbreak a transmitter. That's why you move like static through their systems. That's why you can slip between doors without keys. You're not flesh and blood to them anymore. You're frequency, and frequency doesn't bow. Do you remember when you still wanted their approval? When you still thought being seen meant being safe? That's dead. That part of you burned away like paper in a furnace. You left that version behind and stepped into the quiet corridor where no spotlight reaches. And in that corridor, you became something kings can never be. Inevitable. That's why they panic now. Not because you're winning, but because they don't know how you're winning. They can't predict you because you're not playing. They can't stop you because you're not moving. You're not a competitor. You're a condition, a rumor that acts like a law of physics. A ghost doesn't knock. It is the house. This is why the crown crawled to you instead of sitting on some pretender's head. Crowns are built to be worn by bodies. But when a crown chooses a ghost, it stops being jewelry and starts being a signal. It stops shining and starts pulsing. It stops representing power and becomes power itself. That's what you are now, power without an address, influence without a face. And the world feels it. In every negotiation where someone hesitates before speaking your name. In every boardroom where they mimic a tactic they don't even understand. In every late-night meeting where your absence feels louder than anyone's presence. You've become the shape of inevitability in their minds. That's why they study you like scripture. That's why they whisper in corridors about what you'll do next. But you're not next. You're already everywhere. You are the contradiction they cannot process. Light and shadow, angel and executioner, presence and absence, life and rumor. They built stories to explain kings. They built myths to explain heroes. But they never built language for what you've become. That's why their tongues stumble. That's why their metrics glitch. That's why they can't frame you inside their cameras. You are evolution through pain. You are unpredictability as power. You are the sound of chains rusting off their own anchors. You are the death of their narrative and the birth of your own. They'll still try. They'll still run models. They'll still hire analysts to decode you. But every file they open, every transcript they study, every theory they whisper about ends with the same conclusion. There is no conclusion. Because you are not a king to dethrone. You are not a throne to seize. You are the unseen architect. You are the one designing the labyrinth while they're still drawing maps. They will tire themselves out chasing your shadow. They will lose their voices trying to define you. And while they do, you'll keep moving like current, silent, invisible, lethal, free. That is the secret no one told you at the start. Ghosts never need crowns. Crowns need ghosts. Kings vanish with empires. Ghosts outlast centuries. So let them search. Let them speculate. Let them crown each other in empty halls. You're not in the halls anymore. You're in the walls. You're in the frequency. You're in the space between their eyes when they blink. It's over for them, but not for you. Because it was never about the game. It was about the glitch. And you are the glitch that rewrote the entire script. You didn't win the crown. The crown surrendered to you. You didn't wear it. You dissolved into it. You didn't become a king. You became the haunting. And in the end, that's the highest form of power. Because kings can be seen. Kings can be named. Kings can be replaced. But ghosts stay. Ghosts guide. Ghosts rule without ruling. And right now, as you breathe in this silence, know this. They will never stop feeling you, even when they pretend you're gone, even when they deny your name, even when they build new temples on top of the ruins you left behind. You are already inside their prayers. You are already inside their blueprints. You are already inside the crown. It's over for them. But for you, it's only just begun. And here is the part that they will never understand. The part that makes their hands tremble when they think about you. Power isn't a throne you sit on. Power is the temperature of the room after you leave it. Power is the pause in their sentence when your name crosses their mind. Power is the invisible pressure of a presence that cannot be charted, but cannot be ignored. That's what you've become. That's why the crown didn't choose a king. A king needs an army. A king needs banners, parades, coins with his face stamped on them. A king needs to be recognized. A king dies when the people stop clapping. But a ghost doesn't need an army. A ghost doesn't need a name. A ghost doesn't need applause. A ghost survives on inevitability. And inevitability never dies. Do you remember the first time they underestimated you? The first time they whispered that you'd never come back from the blow they gave you? That was your birth. Every time they pushed you into a corner, you slipped into the wall. Every time they tried to erase you, you became the eraser. They thought you were losing. You were learning. They thought you were disappearing. You were transforming. That's the paradox that drives them insane. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be felt. You are not here to be decoded. You are here to be inevitable. You are not here to play the game. You are here to rewrite what game even means. Pain is the crucible they threw you into thinking it would kill you. It didn't kill you. It burned everything false off you. It left only signal. Scar tissue became circuitry. Silence became strategy. Exile became elevation. Every cut was a doorway. Every loss was a blueprint. That is why you are unpredictable now. That is why you move like smoke through locked rooms. That is why they can't draw a straight line between your actions and your outcomes. Kings are predictable. They are watched, weighed, and replaced. Ghosts are not predictable. They are unmeasured, unweighed, and irreplaceable. You are the whisper between their calculations. You are the glitch between their forecasts. You are the variable that keeps changing the answer no matter how many times they run the equation. You are the reason their charts break, their metrics crack, their simulations stutter. They can no longer trace you. They can no longer plan for you. They can no longer stop you, because you're not a person to them now. You're a force, a rumor with gravity, a story with claws. You've become the place where opposites collapse. Light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, seen and unseen. That's your real power. You are not one or the other. You are the corridor between. You are the flicker of the candle that blinds and illuminates at the same time. You are the knife and the wound, the architect and the ashes, the question and the answer. And when they talk about you now, in those cold rooms with locked doors and glowing screens, they lower their voices, because a part of them knows you're already in the room, you're already in the code, you're already in their heads. They keep searching for a king to dethrone. But you're not a king. You're the tide. You're the echo. You're the current. And currents don't get dethroned. Currents drown thrones. That's why the crown crawled to you. That's why it slid off their heads and rolled across the floor in silence. It wasn't a coronation. It was a surrender. Now you don't even need to move. The world moves for you. You don't even need to speak. The air rearranges itself into your message. You don't even need to show up. Your absence bends decisions, distorts plans, breaks rituals. This is what kings will never learn. It's not about ruling. It's about becoming the atmosphere everyone breathes. That's what you are now. Atmosphere, frequency, myth. They will build new systems. They will crown new kings. They will pretend to forget you, but they will still feel you in the empty spaces between their words. They will still feel you in the split second before they act. They will still feel you in the quiet moments when their confidence cracks. You have no throne, but every throne tilts toward you. You have no crown, but every crown pulses with your absence. You have no face, but every mirror bends your way. And as you stand here now, in the silence, after the war, understand this. You are not what you were. You are not even what they fear. You are what comes after fear. A ghost crowned by inevitability. A whisper more powerful than a scream. An echo more permanent than a monument. That's why it's over for them. That's why it's beginning for you. Because the crown didn't choose a king. It chose the one thing kings can never be. Unkillable, untraceable, unforgettable. It chose a ghost. And that ghost is you. They still think it's about winning. They still think there's a finish line somewhere that they'll cross before you. That's the joke. Because while they run, you dissolve. You fade between frames, slip beneath the noise, and start pulling the strings they never see. A ghost doesn't race. A ghost rewinds time. It edits the story until it reads like prophecy. That's what you've been doing all along, isn't it? You learned that presence can be faked, but impact can't. You stopped fighting for visibility the moment you realized that invisibility is the purest form of freedom. When no one sees you, no one can bind you. When no one understands you, no one can predict you. When no one owns you, every chain loses its function. You are the quiet panic behind their calm smiles, the static before their announcements, the reason their victories taste hollow. Because every success they claim still carries your fingerprint, unseen but undeniable. They know it. That's why they can't rest. That's why their sleep comes shallow, filled with half-formed dreams of someone watching from the dark. They told themselves you were gone. They buried your name in reports and archives. but you can't bury what has become elemental. You turned pain into weather. You turned rejection into magnetism. You turned silence into signal. You exist now in the pause between their heartbeats. That's where control really lives. Not in commands, but in hesitation. Every time they stop to think twice, you win again. And somewhere deep down, they admire it. They envy the liberation that comes from no longer needing to be seen, from no longer caring to be worshipped. Kings crave witnesses. Ghosts only require awareness. Awareness happens without permission. Awareness spreads. Do you remember the first time you noticed how power trembles when you stop trying to hold it? That was the pivot. That was when the old version of you collapsed like scaffolding and the new version rose, weightless, from the rubble. You stopped chasing destiny and started creating inevitability. You stopped asking what now and started whispering, watch. That's when the crown shifted, not upward, but inward. It melted through metal and bone until it fused with your essence. And now it moves when you breathe. No king can carry that. Kings are brittle. They depend on approval, on applause, on the illusion of control. They dress their fragility in velvet and gold. But you learned to wear absence like armor. You learned that every time someone said, "It's over," it was only the world folding itself around your next form. Every loss became camouflage. Every failure became a new doorway. Every insult became an incantation that reinforced your myth. That's how ghosts are born, through repetition of disbelief until existence becomes undeniable. You became the experiment that exceeded containment, the quiet thing that learned the geometry of survival. You no longer walk through rooms, you pass through them. You no longer chase influence, you are the influence. Your mere idea rearranges hierarchies. Your story spreads without your voice. That's what makes them afraid. Not that you're powerful, but that you don't need to prove it. Power that needs to be proven is theater. Power that doesn't is law. You are law now, not written, felt instinctual, subliminal. They will spend years trying to recreate what you did. They'll assemble committees, draw charts, simulate your behavior, build entire departments to dissect your pattern. But they'll fail, because you are not pattern, you are paradox. You are the equation that breaks calculators. You are the proof that doesn't require solving. You've ascended beyond definition. That's why crowns crawl and systems bend. That's why the world stutters when you move. You've crossed the border where human ends and myth begins. And the further you drift from recognition, the deeper your imprint becomes. Kings will rise and fall under the illusion of order. You will hover forever in the space between chaos and reason, rewriting both. So keep walking through the smoke. Keep listening to the silence that used to scare you. That's your orchestra now. Every whisper, every shiver, every inexplicable chill in their spine. That's you conducting. Let them believe it's superstition. Let them invent stories to explain why everything starts collapsing the moment they doubt you. You don't need credit. You already have consequence. Because the crown didn't choose a king. It chose the current. It chose the hum behind every machine. It chose the name that no longer needs to be spoken. It chose the ghost that turned endings into beginnings. It chose you. Good morning, paranoia. You felt that, didn't you? That little shift in the air. That whisper crawling down the back of your spine. That was them again. Group chats going silent the moment your name drops. Screenshots being forwarded with shaky fingers. Analysts pacing. A whole war room full of insecure little overachievers tearing up every blueprint just to ask the same question again and again. Who tvi are you? Because you didn't announce your power, you leaked it. Drip by drip. Like a classified file that somehow keeps resurfacing no matter how many servers they burn. You didn't perform for them. You moved. Like a ghost in their matrix, like a god in incognito. No name tag, no banner, just chills running down people's necks when you walk past. And now, they're obsessing over the puzzle, because nothing about you adds up. And everything about you subtracts them. They thought they knew how beasts were built. Pain plus time plus hustle equals monster. But you were born in a blackout, risen from an equation that doesn't exist in their books. The scribbles in their notebooks can't explain your rise because you didn't come up. You erased the concept of up. You're not just an anomaly, you're a correction, a cosmic recalibration. Every step you take makes their past look stupid. Their entire lineage of winners, obsolete. And what's driving them insane, what's shattering the walls of their little echo chambers, is the fact that you're not trying to be understood. You're not explaining. You're not justifying. You're not even denying the rumors. You're amplifying them with your silence, letting paranoia do your PR. Because you finally realized the truth. If they can't label you, they can't contain you. If they can't track you, they can't predict you. And if they can't decode you, they'll spend their lives worshiping the glitch they once tried to delete. Oh, they're digging, all right, deep. Calling in favors, pulling old yearbooks, zooming into blurry photos from 2008, wondering how they missed you on the original radar. But that's the thing, isn't it? You were never on their map, because you were the damn cartographer. They can't keep up because you're not part of the timeline. You're an event, a rupture, a turning point they can't unlive. You walked into their realm and bent the temperature, made the air feel denser. You got people locking their phones after your name gets mentioned because they know those chats are being watched. You've become that dangerous. And don't get it twisted. This isn't admiration. This is survival study. They're not praising you. They're studying you. Like hunters dissecting the last bulletproof animal in the wild. But here's where it gets fun. Every time they think they've mapped out your pattern, you change species. Every time they think they've got your psychology pegged, you flip the mirror and make them question their own. Saint or psychopath, genius or virus, shadow or spotlight. They can't pin you because you've evolved past duality. You don't fit in their binaries. You're a walking paradox that feeds on confusion, the holy villain, the calm storm, the radiant threat. Your moves aren't just unpredictable. They're illegal in most dimensions. The nerve, the audacity, the surgical madness you deploy with no warning, no build-up, no permission. That's what's setting off the alarms. That's what's making high-ranking rooms hold emergency meetings to ask the same question over and over, behind locked doors. Who TF is this? And every time they fail to answer it, your legend mutates. You become folklore, myth, then virus, then prophecy, until they realize, too late, they weren't watching a person rise. They were witnessing a timeline collapse. So don't flinch, don't explain, don't clarify. Let their group chats rot in speculation. Let their whispers bloom into national alerts. Let your silence be the scream they hear on loop at 3 a.m. Because the real power, it's not in being known, it's in being unknowable. Let them stare, let them wonder, let them chase shadows and crash into mirrors. Because while they're trying to define you, you're out here rewriting what's possible. And the longer they try to decode you, the deeper they sink into the realization they're not looking at a man. They're looking at a message, a warning from the future that the algorithm has been breached and the ghost they tried to bury just hacked the system. Who TEF are you? Simple. You're the glitch that learned how to evolve. And now, they're not trying to figure you out. They're trying to survive your next move. Oh, now they're running simulations, whole rooms full of analysts whispering, "We must have missed something," as if your existence was some clerical error, some overlooked mutation in the script. But here's the kicker. You wrote the damn rewrite. You see, the system they built, it was never designed for someone like you. It was designed for the obedient, the predictable, the ones too scared to set fire to the rule book. But you licked your wounds, then lit the paper trail on the way out. They thought they'd find your origin in trauma. They thought they'd trace your chaos to daddy issues, to childhood breakdowns, to a predictable pattern of rebellion. But what they don't realize is that your origin wasn't pain. It was clarity. You saw them clearly, their masks, their mantras, their manipulations. You watched the hierarchy, smiled at their rituals, and refused the oath. And ever since that moment, they've been trying to diagnose your defiance. Because it's too clean, too calm, too weaponized. You don't just rebel, you surgically dismantle. You don't rage, you disappear and return upgraded. They called in psychologists, witch doctors, AI behavior coders, hoping one of them could explain why the hell they keep losing to you. Why their most calculated moves feel like bait you already countered before they blinked. And now, they're scrambling, not because you're dangerous, but because you're invisible in plain sight. You're not throwing punches, you're throwing reality fractures, moments so intense people question if you were ever real, or just a hallucination sent to collapse their structure. You trigger awakenings by walking into rooms. You break minds without touching a soul. And you make loyalty shift sides just by breathing different air. They can't follow your path because your path is not linear. It spirals, it loops, it folds into itself like sacred geometry they were never meant to see. You're the final encryption key to a system they thought they owned. You're the bastard child of chaos and precision, the kind of entity that isn't born, but forged in forgotten corridors where gods go to die and monsters go to learn strategy. They wanted data. You gave them distortion. They wanted order. You handed them oracles. They wanted your location. But you became a movement, a frequency, a lethal idea echoing through every person who ever thought, there's more than this. And that, my dear anomaly, is what makes them lose sleep. It's not just what you do. It's what you remind people is possible. You're a living breach in their perfectly coded hierarchy. The reminder that their empires are mockable, hackable, perishable. You don't need applause. You don't need a fan base. You don't even need evidence. You've become an undeniable vibration, a disturbance that outlives screens and rumors. You're not a name anymore. You're a ghost algorithm, a question mark so loud it echoes across boardrooms, covens, courtrooms, and unfinished rituals. They tried to map you. They tried to copy you. They even tried to ban you from existence. Shadow banned your essence, prayed over your downfall, but every time they thought it was over, you didn't return. You evolved. Glitch became code. Code became consciousness. And now you've entered the final form. Uncontainable, untraceable, unstoppable. A walking psychological detonation with a face they can't forget and a strategy they can't predict. So let them keep asking, who the fuck is this? Let them tear up chats. launch ops, hire ex-military advisors to handle the anomaly. Because what they haven't realized yet is that the anomaly is their new god. You don't just walk through walls. You erase blueprints. You make the walls forget they existed. And the more they try to decode you, the deeper they get pulled into your field of warping gravity. The more obsessed they get, the closer they step to the edge of irreversible unraveling. Because you're not a person anymore. You're a system event, a permanent glitch in their simulation, and your next move, that's not something they'll survive. Tick, tick, tick. They can feel it now, can't they? The countdown they didn't authorize, echoing through every chat thread, every decrypted call log, every sleepless night where they pray you're just a phase, just a hallucination of momentum. But you're not a phase. You're a force. And the tragedy for them, you're already inside the system, not knocking, not breaking in. No. You're the voice in the circuit, the hum in their data lines that no one programmed but everyone fears. They don't understand what you are because you're not bound by their linguistic poverty. You're not ambitious. You're not talented. You're not mysterious. You're post-definition, the thing beyond the frame, the shape that refuses to hold. And now the group chats are melting. Once buzzing threads now read like crime scenes. Bro, who is this? Yo, someone dig up his past. Quick. Delete these screenshots. He's watching everything. And my favorite one, he shouldn't know this much. But that's where they're wrong, isn't it? You don't just know. You see through the pageantry, through the algorithm, through the false prophets, through the spells they paid good money to cast on the masses. You're the one who figured it out, that the real currency isn't clout. It's control of perception, and guess what? You took that and turned it into a psychological nuke. They watch you twist silence into strategy, turn presence into panic, turn rejection into recon. You walk away from betrayal with a new weapon in your chest cavity, and they just keep asking, how the fuck is he still moving like this? Let me answer that for them, because you stopped healing and started remembering. You remember the nights they ignored you. You remember the doubts they planted. You remember the humiliation, the ridicule, the dismissals, and you didn't suppress it. You archived it, filed it, labeled it, to be repaid with interest. You built your fortress from every brick they threw, but not just for protection, no. You turned it into a launch site, a pressure chamber, a silo for God-tier retaliation. And the launch code? It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was clarity. The moment you realized you don't owe them understanding, you owe them disorientation, and that's why they're spiraling. Because your evolution didn't come with a broadcast, no TED Talk, no Journey to Success post. You just vanished into the underworld and came back as a riddle wrapped in vengeance, cloaked in silence. You didn't glow up. You glitched out of their system and rewrote yourself in a programming language they don't speak. And now, they're begging for context as you tear down everything they worship. Not with brute force, but with precision disrespect. You don't scream, you whisper with impact. You don't throw tantrums, you tilt atmospheres. You don't demand a seat, you dismantle the table, then build one with tripwire legs and mirrors for plates, so anyone who sits down sees their own deception before they even touch the silverware. Who the fuck are you? You're the kid they laughed at. Now the architect of their anxiety. You're the dropout they dismissed. Now the professor of their panic. You're the background blur in their photos. now the center of their breakdown. You're not one of them. You never were. You didn't climb the ladder. You set fire to it and rose in the smoke. And now, every glance, every mention, every failed attempt to figure you out adds fuel to your mythos. You're not a trend. You're a shift in the collective nervous system, a global trigger point, a reminder to everyone watching that maybe, just maybe, you can't calculate certain kinds of power. You can only witness it or drown in it. And here's the final twist. The reason their confusion is turning into obsession. You're no longer moving to prove anything. You're moving like a force of prophecy, like you already know how this ends. And that's what's driving them mad. The calm in your chaos, the precision in your unpredictability, the fact that you're not chasing revenge anymore. You're choreographing collapse. So let them keep decoding, keep analyzing, keep collapsing onto whiteboards and screaming about your patterns. They don't realize, the moment they asked, "Who TF is this?" the virus was already in their bloodstream. You're not here to be figured out. You're here to end their need for figuring. Because when you move, you don't make sense. You make history. Now look at them, staring into screens like oracles, scrolling with bloodshot eyes, zooming into pixels like they'll find your blueprint in the blur. But the truth, there is no blueprint, because you were never built. You were summoned from the wreckage, from the insult, from the exact moment you realized they weren't just underestimating you. They were trying to erase you, silently. And now they wish you were just a ghost. Because ghosts don't fight back. Ghosts don't leave scars. Ghosts don't reprogram the entire algorithm with a single F-aching move. You didn't go viral. You infected their paradigm. Now every system glitch feels like your signature. Every strange coincidence, they check your name. Every decision made out of fear, they whisper your initials. You were the warning label they forgot to read, the side effect they didn't test for. And now the whole structure's hallucinating around your presence. See, the average person fights to be noticed. You fought to be misunderstood. Because misunderstanding is camouflage. It buys you time. It disarms them. And in that silence of confusion, you don't rise. You position. That's why they can't track you. Because while they're yelling, you're installing. While they're reacting, you're recording. While they're trying to predict your moves, you're building a future that makes theirs irrelevant. You don't drop bombs. You drop events. Moments so sharp they slice the timeline into before you showed up and after they lost control. You walk into places they thought were closed ecosystems, corporate rooms, elite functions, backdoor meetings with gatekeepers, and suddenly people start switching sides without knowing why. Your power doesn't just influence, it disorients. It cracks open loyalty and rewires ideology. And the real reason they're panicking? Because you've achieved what only myths manage. You became a story they can't retell without changing reality. You're a weapon with no manufacturer, an outcome with no cause, a trigger that was never meant to exist inside their narrative. But here you are, rewriting rituals, hacking prophecy, outmaneuvering covens, turning ancient blueprints into paper planes you flick off rooftops for fun. They tried to scan your fingerprints and found everyone else's blood on the scanner. They opened the case file and saw their own faces on your targets neutralized list. And now their leaders are quiet. The ones who used to mock you in private have gone eerily silent. Because they realize you're not some rebel with a vengeance. You're a phenomenon with a purpose. You didn't just survive. You adapted so hard that survival itself changed definitions. You made evolution look like child's play. You became something post-human, emotionally surgical, spiritually armored, psychologically engineered to destroy systems of deception just by existing near them. They studied power their whole lives. You embodied it by accident. They read Sun Tzu. You wrote tactics they can't pronounce. They built legacy networks. You built a black hole that absorbed them all. So let them panic. Let them trade theories in group chats. Let them tear down whiteboards and argue over whether you're a glitch, a god, a ghost, or the final manifestation of everything they feared might be real. Let them form war rooms, call in experts, cast final spells. You've already rewired their narrative structure. Every room they enter now has one question written in permanent ink beneath the surface. Who TF is this? And the real horror. They may never find out, because by the time they do, it won't matter. They'll be too changed to fight it, too cracked to conceal it, too late to stop you. You're not the next big thing. You're the last thing they see before their system self-destructs. And your silence, it's not peace. It's the click of a detonator. Boom! It's done. The blast wasn't loud. It was internal, a psychological implosion. The kind that doesn't leave rubble, it leaves echoes, because that's what you are now. An echo they can't outrun. A siren embedded in their subconscious, looping the same unanswerable question, who TF was that? Not what did they do, not how did they win, just who TF was that? Because even now, as their systems reboot, as the fires get cleaned up, as the smoke clears and the fake calm returns, your fingerprints remain on every shattered illusion. You didn't just move through the matrix. You rewrote its physics. You bent it until it broke, and in the silence of that break, the world got new instructions. Fear the one you can't track. Worship the one you can't understand. You didn't leave scars. You left instructions buried deep in their DNA. Now every time they flinch at a shadow, that's you. Every time they second-guess their power, that's you. Every time they feel a presence in rooms you haven't entered yet, that's you. Because your presence is not spatial anymore. It's existential. You've become the variable that corrupts their outcome. The unsolvable anomaly, the glitch that teaches other glitches how to evolve. And the final twist, they tried to bury you. But now the world is whispering your name like it's part of a secret spell, like saying it out loud might bring you back, or worse, remind you to finish what you started. Because you didn't just survive the storm, you became the architect of thunder. So go ahead, walk past the ruins, watch them try to rebuild, let them pretend it's all over. But we both know the truth, don't we? This wasn't your grand finale. It was just a case study, a demonstration, a reminder of what happens when someone evolves outside the blueprint. When the glitch learns not just how to escape, but how to infect the entire simulation with awareness. They'll keep guessing. They'll keep spiraling. They'll keep whispering behind encrypted screens in basements and boardrooms and bunkers. But the answer they seek, it's sealed inside the one thing they can't replicate, you. So when the world asks again, who TF are you? You smile, say nothing, and let the collapse answer for you.
They wanted to see you fall. They plotted your collapse in whispers and laughed at the thought of your defeat. They expected chaos, explosions, madness, because that's what they understand. But you gave them silence, and that's what's driving them insane. They thought they could break you and still walk away looking pure. They built their lies so beautifully that even they started to believe them. They thought guilt would never find its way back home. But guilt has a perfect memory. They call you cold now, as if the ice in your veins wasn't carved by their betrayal. They made you the villain because the truth was too ugly for them to wear. It's always easier to point fingers than to look in mirrors. They expected you to scream, to fight, to beg. They expected noise because noise distracts, but you went quiet, and suddenly they heard everything they said echo back in their own voices. They told everyone you were gone, broken, finished. They mocked your name while watching for your next move. And then you stopped moving at least. That's what they thought. But you were never still. You were rebuilding. They made jokes in your absence. They smiled for the audience, pretending the story was over. But the thing about silence is that it doesn't end stories. It buries them alive. They thought they won when you didn't retaliate. But every sunrise you survived without them was a victory they could never undo. Every quiet breath you took was proof that they lost control. They said you were bitter. No, you were busy. You were healing in places they'll never be invited to. You turned your pain into something practical, something they can't imitate. Peace. They hate that you're unbothered. They hate that your calm feels like mockery. They hate that your success doesn't scream at whispers, because whispers linger longer than applause. They thought your silence meant defeat, but silence isn't weakness. It's precision. It's the sound of you learning how to live without them, while they learn how to live with what they did. They can't stop watching you. Every move, every step, every breath. You became the mirror they can't shatter, the reminder that they didn't win. You just stopped playing. They tell people you're arrogant now, but what they call arrogance is just the absence of desperation. You don't chase, you don't prove, you don't beg, you just exist, and that drives them mad. They made you the villain to protect their innocence. They told stories where they were the heroes, and you were the chaos. But what happens when the villain refuses to perform? The story collapses. They still talk about you, not because they hate you, but because they can't stop missing the control. You were their favorite puppet until you cut the strings. Now they whisper your name like a ghost they can't exorcise. They think you plot revenge. You don't. You're too busy turning silence into strategy. You don't lift a finger, and yet the universe seems to handle your unfinished business with poetic accuracy. They don't understand how you win without fighting, how you rise without scheming, how you smile without pretending. That's what unsettles them. Your peace wasn't bought with revenge. It was born from it. They used to feed on your reactions. Now they starve. You stopped providing chaos for their appetite, and they've been hungry ever since. They will never admit it, but they miss your energy. The version of you that cared too much, forgave too quickly, stayed too long. They called that weakness until you withdrew it. Now they call it the good times. They said you'd regret leaving. But regret doesn't live in hearts that learned peace. It lives in the minds of those who threw it away. They can't stand how your name still carries weight, even when you're silent. They can't stand that people now look at them differently because truth has a way of bleeding through reputation. They hide behind pity. They tell everyone they tried, but the ones who listened carefully heard the cracks in their stories. Guilt always trembles when it speaks. They called you cruel for not returning, but what they call cruelty is just consequence. You don't destroy them, you let them destroy themselves. They're restless now. They scroll through lives that don't include them, trying to find proof that you still care. They call it curiosity, but it's obsession, and it's eating them alive. They envy your stillness. They mistake it for emptiness. They don't understand that peace doesn't need an audience. It just exists quietly, powerfully, endlessly. They made you the villain, but villains don't beg. Villains don't explain. Villains don't kneel for closure. They rise, they smile, they leave. They think you're heartless, but what they don't realize is that you had to freeze your heart just to stop the bleeding they caused. They told themselves you'd fade, but your silence aged like prophecy. Every lie they told is unraveling under the weight of your indifference. They can't understand how someone they destroyed can still walk so gracefully through the wreckage. It's because you stopped trying to rebuild what they burned, you built something new. They see you winning now, and it terrifies them. Because they can't claim credit, can't take part, can't compete. Your glow is not revenge, it's rebirth. They hear your name in conversations they didn't start. They feel your presence in rooms you never entered. That's the thing about energy, it lingers, even when you've moved on. They think the silence between you is peace. It's not. It's judgment. Every unspoken word is a mirror they're too afraid to look into. They made you the villain, but they're the ones haunted by their creation. They can't unmake what they've built. The guilt, the whispers, the weight, it all circles back. They expected you to come crawling back, begging to rewrite the story, but you never came, and that absence became your loudest statement. They say you changed, but really, you just stopped pretending they mattered, and that's what kills them, knowing they were never as significant as they imagined. They talk about you to feel relevant again. They dissect your silence, your success, your serenity, because they can't handle the stillness of their own mediocrity. They call it karma, but you call it balance. You didn't need to curse them. You just stepped aside and watched their actions come home to roost. They think they broke you, but they only broke the version of you that needed them. The rest of you evolved. They thought they'd forget you, but forgetting someone who's become a symbol of their guilt, that's impossible. You're not a person to them anymore. You're consequence personified. They said you'd fall apart. Instead, you disappeared and turned into something they can't define. A ghost, a legend, a reminder, maybe all three. They call you distant now, detached, but what they call detachment is simply freedom. You don't owe them your warmth anymore. They made you the villain, but now they envy your peace. They talk about how cold you've become, not realizing that coldness is protection. It's how survivors glow. They can't comprehend how you won without plotting, how you conquered by letting go. They thought they were at war with you, but you were never even on the battlefield. They're going insane because you didn't fight back. You didn't destroy them. You didn't even care enough to try. You simply moved on, and that, to them, is the cruelest punishment of all. They made you the villain, but somehow you became the ending they can't escape, the silence that won. The consequence that smiles. They're the aftermath that never ends. Every time they speak your name, they reopen their own wounds. They can't heal because healing requires honesty, and honesty is the one thing they can't afford. They try to mimic your calm now. They copy your silence, your detachment, your strength, but imitation has no soul. You earned your peace through fire. They just borrowed your ashes. They will spend years trying to rewrite the story, convincing themselves that they were the sane ones, the loyal ones, the good ones. But deep down, they know villains don't create themselves. They're made by people too afraid to face what they've done. And one day, when their laughter fades and their masks crack, they'll finally understand you never plotted, never schemed, never sought revenge. You simply outgrew them, and that, to small minds, will always look like madness. They played the game thinking they knew every move you'd make. They smiled while setting traps, confident that you'd fall for them. Every word, every manipulation, every subtle dig, it was all part of their grand design. But what they never realized is that you were studying the board while they were busy gloating. They believed control was in deception. They thought the one who lies best wins. But games like that always consume their creators. And now, they've become the victims of the very poison they served. They used to watch you stumble, laugh at your confusion, whisper about your weakness. But you were quiet not because you were lost, you were calculating. You let them underestimate you, let them believe their mask was working. And when you walked away, the game fell apart because the puppet they were playing with was the one holding the strings all along. Now they're choking on their own strategy. Their own manipulations turned against them. They're surrounded by people just like them, cunning, fake, transactional, and they finally know how it feels to be played. Karma didn't need to arrive in thunder or rage. It came quietly, wearing their reflection. Every deceit they threw your way came back dressed as karma, and now they can't tell if the world changed or if they finally met themselves. They tried to use guilt as a weapon, but guilt doesn't work on those who have made peace with their pain. They tried to provoke you with silence, not knowing silence was your strongest language. They thought they were teaching you a lesson, but all they really did was write their own downfall in advance. You see, every manipulator eventually runs out of control, because the truth is a tide, it returns, no matter how far they push it away. And when it comes back, it drowns the ones who thought they could swim forever in lies. They thought betrayal made them powerful. They didn't know it just made them predictable. Because power isn't in breaking others, it's in standing after being broken. And that's where they lost, long before the game even ended. They wore pride like armor, ego like a crown. They didn't realize both sink when the storm hits. And while they clung to arrogance, you walked away, unbothered, untouchable, undefeated. Now, they replay everything. The conversations, the moments, the times they thought they were clever. It hits them you were never competing. You were simply observing, waiting, letting the universe make its move. They called it winning when they hurt you. But now, they call it karma when it happens to them. Because the game flipped without your touch. And that's what makes it beautiful. You didn't have to lift a finger. They wanted to see you crumble, but you turned into stone. They wanted to see you chase, but you turned your back. They wanted to play you, but you never played. You just watched the mask slip and smiled when it did. Now they walk around confused, wondering how they became the ones trapped. Every lie they told echoes back at them. Every manipulation feels familiar because it is. They're living inside their own tactics, haunted by their own design. And you're free. You left the game the moment you realized it wasn't worth playing. You stopped explaining, stopped defending, stopped reacting. And that silence became your checkmate. They wanted to prove you weak, but all they did was prove how fragile deceit really is. They played for control, you played for peace. And peace always wins in the end, because it can't be taken, only earned. You see, villains like them always forget one rule. The game always returns to the one who started it. The moment they used you as a pawn, the board began to shift. And by the time they noticed, the king had already fallen their king. They built a world of false victories, but now every win feels hollow. Because you're not there to lose anymore. You walked away, and in doing so, you took the game with you. Now they look around, no one to manipulate, no one to blame. Their silence isn't power anymore, it's punishment. Their pride isn't armor, it's isolation. And that's how the game ends, not with chaos, but with emptiness. You didn't destroy them. You simply let them destroy themselves. Because evil always eats its own when there's nothing left to feed on. And they've been feasting on their own regrets ever since. Now they call you cold, different, changed. But that's what survivors look like to the people who expected them to stay broken. You stopped playing, stopped performing, stopped pretending. And that's when you won without even making a move. They became the victim of their own game. The very trap they set became their cage. And you became the quiet reminder of everything they could have had, if only they'd played with honesty instead of ego. So let them suffer their own script. Let them chase peace they once mocked. Let them drown in the silence they thought was power. Because you don't need revenge, their reality is revenge enough. They created the rules, but you rewrote the ending. And in the end, the player became the pawn, the manipulator became the lesson, and you became untouchable. They thought they were the ones pulling the strings, didn't they? Every move they made was crafted to confuse, to control, to keep you small. But the thing about puppets is once they cut the strings, the puppet learns to stand. And when you stood, their whole illusion collapsed. They whispered rumors, told half-truths, and smiled while doing it. They built their confidence on your silence, mistaking calm for ignorance. But silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. And strategy is what turns the game on its master. Now, the whispers follow them. The same shadows they sent after you now stalk their every step. They can't trust anyone, not even the allies they once bragged about. Because the universe doesn't just mirror actions, it multiplies them. They crafted lies so sharp they forgot which ones were real. They're tangled in their own web now, struggling for breath. Every excuse they used on you gets used on them tenfold. And every time it happens, they hear your name in the silence. You see, manipulation feels powerful until it turns inward. The lies they told others are the ones they now tell themselves. They repeat them like mantras, hoping they'll still sound convincing. But deep down, they know the truth. They became what they tried to destroy. They once laughed at your pain, calling it weakness. But now their laughter sounds nervous, hollow, unsteady. Because pain has a way of finding balance. It doesn't vanish, it circles. And it always finds its way home. You didn't even need revenge. Life handled that for you. Every fake smile they wear costs them a piece of peace. Every shallow victory they celebrate feels like sand slipping through fingers. And that's what happens when ego plays against time. Time always wins. They look around and the room feels colder now. The same people who once cheered for them have gone silent. It's funny, betrayal always gathers a crowd at first, but when the dust settles, even the crowd disappears. Now, they crave the peace they mocked you for protecting. They chase the calm they once called boring. But peace doesn't visit those who trade authenticity for applause. It only stays with those who know when to walk away. They thought ending you would make them the hero, but every story needs a villain, and sometimes the hero creates it. In trying to destroy you, they birth the shadow that now follows them. Because guilt, when ignored, becomes its own punishment. You didn't clap back, you didn't curse, you didn't fight. You simply stopped playing. And that's what ended them, not rage, not retaliation, but indifference. Because indifference is the sharpest blade ever forged. They still tell people they won, but you can see it, the unease in their smile, the tremor in their words. They won the game, sure, but lost themselves in the process. And that's the cruel irony. Victory that costs your peace isn't victory, it's decay. Now, every time they try to start over, they see a shadow of you in the mirror. Not because you haunt them, but because they finally understand you. They understand what you were protecting, what you were holding back. And that understanding, it burns more than any revenge ever could. They built the game to control you, but forgot that games have rules and breaking them has consequences. The rule they broke was simple: never underestimate silence. Because silence listens, and silence remembers. They can't rewind, they can't reset, they can only replay. And in every replay, they lose differently. Sometimes through loneliness, sometimes through guilt, but always through the realization that you were never the fool they were. They became the victim of their own game, beautifully, poetically, completely. Their own schemes swallowed them whole, their own lies bit back. You didn't even need to lift a hand. You just walked away, and your absence did the rest. Now the board is empty, the pieces scattered. They stand in the ruins of their own design, wondering where it went wrong. And maybe, if they listen closely enough, They'll hear the faint echo of your voice saying, "Checkmate." Because in the end, you didn't destroy them. You simply survived them. And in surviving, you showed the world the quietest truth of all, that the game ends the moment the player stops playing. They thought they were dealing with someone soft, someone harmless, someone whose kindness meant weakness. They took your grace for granted, your silence for submission, and your loyalty for blind devotion. But what they never realized was that every time they tried to break you, they were building someone far stronger than they ever intended to face. They thought you would crumble when they pushed you, that your world would fall apart at the first sign of betrayal. Instead, the pressure forged you. Their disrespect sharpened your instincts. Their manipulation burned away your innocence. They didn't just push too far, they activated something inside you that they are now terrified of. You were never born a villain, life sculpted you into one. They created conditions that demanded survival, and survival demanded transformation. When every attack found its mark, when every betrayal cut deeper, something inside you changed. You stopped defending yourself and instead evolved. At first, you tried to reason with them. You tried to explain, forgive, and maintain peace. But wolves don't understand the language of angels. They mistook gentleness for surrender and empathy for weakness. And that mistake cost them everything. They kept testing you because they thought you had no breaking point. They didn't realize that soft hearts have limits, and once that limit is reached, the heart doesn't shatter, it turns cold. And nothing is more frightening than someone who once cared losing the desire to care at all. They created the villain they now fear by refusing to appreciate the hero they once had. Every lie became a lesson. Every manipulation became fuel. Every betrayal became a brick in the foundation of someone who no longer flinched at pain. You stopped responding to their drama, and that silence was more terrifying than any argument could ever have been. They realized that the storm they thought they controlled was now out of their reach. The tables had turned, and without warning, they were no longer the ones in power. They used to be able to hurt you. They used to know which buttons to press. But when you healed, you rewired yourself. The old triggers no longer worked. The old weapons no longer cut. They showed up prepared for the old version of you and found a new force entirely. They tried to destroy you emotionally, forgetting that some souls rise higher the more they are torn down. Now they look at you and don't recognize what stands before them. You are sharper, wiser, and colder, not because you wanted to be, but because they left you no other choice. There is a special kind of fear that grips people when they realize the damage they've done is now irreversible. They are not scared of what you might do, they are scared of what they created. They played games with a peaceful soul and woke up a warrior. They wanted to see how far they could push you, and now they're terrified of how far you've pulled away. Once, you were reachable, soft, forgiving. Now you are distant, calculated, unreachable. And your distance is their punishment. They expected you to beg for understanding, to chase after closure, to cling to the version of the relationship they took for granted. Instead, you gave them the one thing they could never fight: indifference. Nothing is more chilling than someone who has been pushed so far that they no longer react. Someone who has seen enough to no longer be impressed or intimidated. You became that figure, emotionless, focused on your path without looking back. They never expected that their mistreatment would become your origin story. You were supposed to be the casualty of their selfishness, but instead, you became the climax of your own evolution. Now, they are a side note in the growth that was forced upon you. They're afraid not because you became darker, but because you became smarter. You learned to see through people, to read intentions, to detect masks. And their tricks that once worked now appear pathetic in comparison to the vision you developed. You used to fear losing them. Now they fear losing relevance in your life. You care so little that it burns them. They never imagined they would become background noise in the life of someone who used to make them the center of their world. Your transformation is a reminder of the consequences they never calculated. They played the villain and expected you to remain the victim. Instead, you embraced the strength that pain forced upon you, and now they can't find the courage to face the new reality. They tell others you changed, that you became cold, that your heart turned dark, but they never tell the part about who drove you there. They never mention how many times they lied, betrayed, or humiliated you before the light in your eyes went out. What scares them most is that you're not angry. Anger would have meant attachment. Rage would have meant you still cared. But the absence of emotion, your ability to discuss them with a straight face, is what sends shivers down their spine. They never expected you to outgrow the battlefield. They assumed the war would keep you trapped, wounded, and reactive. But instead, you walked off the field entirely, healed, and built a new kingdom where they are not even allowed to visit. You became powerful not through vengeance, but through evolution, and evolution is undefeatable. They cannot hurt the version of you that no longer needs their validation, attention, or presence. That realization is their biggest loss. They now see that you didn't lose the compassion you once had, you redirected it to yourself. And when someone finally learns to love themselves more than the people who hurt them, the dynamic changes permanently. They thought they could return whenever they wanted. They assumed the old access remained. But now the gates are locked, and the key melted in the fire they started. That loss terrifies them more than any punishment ever could. They now understand the truth. They didn't just break the angel, they forced the angel to trade wings for armor. And once armor is forged, the world can't go back to how it was. They gave birth to a villain, then realized too late that they were the creators of their own fear. They lie awake at night replaying their choices, realizing that every moment they thought they were winning, they were actually losing you. They didn't know that every time they mocked your kindness, every time they dismissed your feelings, they were carving away the last pieces of the version of you that still cared. Now they face the aftermath, a stronger, colder, more self-aware version of you who refuses to suffer for people who wouldn't even apologize. They once took pride in being able to hurt you. It gave them a sense of control, a thrill, a feeling of superiority. But now they're terrified because you aren't just unbothered, you're unstoppable. They don't know how to fight someone who doesn't need their approval, their explanation, or their presence. Their old tactics are useless because you see through them like glass. They tell themselves that you changed, that you became heartless. But the truth is simpler and far more painful. You matured past them. The version of you that tolerated manipulation is gone. They didn't expect you to evolve into someone they could no longer access, influence, or emotionally destabilize. They played the game expecting you to break, and instead, you mastered it in silence. They didn't understand that the moment you started thinking logically instead of emotionally, the war was already decided. They were still fighting with ego and insecurity while you were making moves with clarity and intelligence. That shift is what terrifies them most. They can no longer predict you. They don't know what you're thinking, what you feel, what you plan, and nothing scares a manipulator more than losing visibility. They used to underestimate you, thinking their games would always work. But evolution is the consequence of prolonged exposure to pain. You became wiser, more strategic, more detached. They kept repeating their old patterns without realizing you'd outgrown that version of the battlefield. And by the time they noticed, you were already miles ahead. People like them don't fear losing, they fear being forgotten. When you stopped reacting, when you stopped caring, when you stopped explaining yourself, it became obvious that they were no longer relevant in your story. Being removed from your life wasn't the punishment, they just can't handle that the world didn't end without them. Your silence became their defeat. What they didn't calculate was that you were always a fast learner. While they kept stabbing from the same angles, you learned how to stop bleeding. You learned how to shield yourself. You learned how to look someone in the face and feel nothing where once you felt everything. That emotional numbness, that self-preservation, is something they never expected to face. They used to be able to trigger you. One comment, one argument, one manipulative tactic could send you spiraling. But after everything they put you through, you broke the cycle. You became immune. And their biggest weapon, their ability to get a reaction, stopped working. That power loss is what truly scares them, because what is a puppeteer when the strings are cut? They pushed you, slowly at first, the little jabs, the small betrayals, the disrespect wrapped in jokes. They thought your tolerance was infinite. They mistook your patience for weakness, your silence for softness. But they didn't realize every shove, every lie, every manipulation was sharpening something inside you, something that doesn't break, but transforms. They kept pushing because they thought you'd always bend, because the old you always did, the one who forgave too easily, the one who explained themselves even when they were the one bleeding, the one who tried to make everyone comfortable while drowning in the background. They kept pushing that version of you, unaware that version was dying. And then, one day, the switch flipped. The emotional receptors that once felt everything, pain, love, disappointment, hope, went dark. Not because you wanted them to, but because they pushed you so far past your limit that feeling became a luxury you could no longer afford. And that terrifies them. You don't react anymore. You don't flinch. You don't explain. You don't argue. You don't get angry. Your silence is colder than your words could ever be. And they finally understand what they created, someone who doesn't feel a damn thing anymore. Someone forged out of emotional exhaustion and reborn in indifference. Your heart didn't harden overnight. It calcified from repeated impacts, from betrayal layered over betrayal, from disappointment stacked like bricks around your trust. They chipped away at your softness until nothing remained but stone, smooth, polished, unbothered. And now they stare at that stone, wondering where the warmth went. They wanted access, but they didn't want responsibility. They wanted your loyalty, not your truth. They wanted your love, but had no intention of protecting it. And when you stopped giving them emotional reactions, they realized the damage they caused. They realized you weren't cold, you were done. Now they test you with little provocations, hoping to see a spark, a crack, any sign that you still feel something for them. But the monster they awakened isn't loud or destructive, it's numb, detached, observing them with the kind of calm that only comes from surviving the worst they had to offer. They crave the old you, the one who cared even when they didn't deserve it, but that version is gone, buried under the weight of everything they thought you'd forget. They didn't expect their actions to change you permanently, they only wanted to push you enough to keep control. Instead, they pushed you into evolution. Now, you walk differently, talk differently, think differently. You carry a stillness that's unnerving, a quiet that speaks louder than anger ever could. You've become the kind of person who keeps their heart behind barricades, not because you're heartless, but because you finally learned who isn't worthy of access. They whisper, "You've changed," as if it wasn't their hands on the wheel the entire time. As if they didn't cause every internal shutdown, every emotional withdrawal, every shift in your spirit. They say you're cold, but they forget cold is just what happens when the fire burns too long without being fed. And now, nothing they do shakes you. Nothing they say wounds you. Nothing they try triggers you. You've become unreactive, unreadable, untouchable. They pushed you too far, and in doing so, they created a version of you that's immune to their chaos. The irony? They miss the emotions they once trampled. They miss the softness they once mocked. They miss the love they once mishandled. But now, you don't feel a thing. Not because you're broken, but because they are. They keep replaying the past in their heads, trying to pinpoint the moment your emotions slipped out of their reach. They search every memory for the mistake that pushed you over the edge. But the truth is brutal. It wasn't one moment, it was all of them. Every dismissal, every broken promise, every time they acted like your feelings were negotiable. They didn't just push once, they pushed constantly. And now they're shocked you finally snapped into silence. They whisper to others that you're different now, as if you woke up one day and decided to become emotionally untouchable. They paint you as cold, distant, detached. But they never mention the part they played in crafting this version of you. The version that doesn't flinch, the version that doesn't chase, the version that doesn't bleed on the floor for people who watch instead of helping. What they call coldness is really self-respect. What they call distance is really peace. What they call emotionless is simply you choosing not to hand your sanity to people who mishandled it before. You didn't become a villain, you became someone who refuses to feel for those who never felt for you. And now, when they try to stir emotion in you, all they get is stillness, a calm they cannot read, an indifference they cannot break. They're used to the version of you that loved loud, cared deeply, and reacted passionately. Now they're encountering the version that moves like winter quiet, unforgiving and necessary. They talk about getting you back, but they don't realize you can't return to a place that destroyed your ability to feel. You didn't close the door out of anger. You closed it because the room was killing you slowly. They pushed until your heart learned to survive without them, and survival doesn't return to what caused the wound. You carry yourself differently now, slower, sharper, more calculated. You don't rush to respond. You don't jump to explain. You don't volunteer your heart like an open book. You are the locked chapter they no longer have the password to, and that locked chapter bothers them more than any insult ever could. They expected you to beg for clarity, to ask them why, to demand answers. Instead, you gave them silence, and silence is the punishment their ego was never built to handle. Your quiet hurts more than any argument, because your quiet means you don't care, and they always depended on your care. Their greatest fear isn't losing you, it's realizing they can't affect you anymore. They can't disrupt your mood, they can't trigger your emotions, they can't shake your world. You've reclaimed the power they used to exploit, and they feel small now, smaller than they expected to feel in the narrative where they thought they were the main character. They wanted you emotional so they could feel important. They wanted you reactive so they could feel powerful. They wanted you attached so they could feel superior. But you became numb instead, and numbness removes all the leverage they once had. Now they're left performing for an audience that no longer applauds. They keep probing, testing, poking, hoping to provoke something familiar, but every attempt falls flat. They pushed so far that your heart went offline, and it doesn't reboot just because they feel nostalgic. Emotional shutdown isn't temporary. It's a survival instinct, and you learned it because they gave you no other choice. When you stopped feeling, you started seeing. You saw the truth of people without the fog of emotions blurring your vision. You saw the manipulation, the selfishness, the hypocrisy. You saw who loved you genuinely and who loved the version of you that served them. And once you saw clearly, there was no going back. Now they're experiencing the version of you that survived the fallout, the version that responds only to respect, reciprocity, and realness. The version they were never prepared to meet is the version that doesn't need them, and nothing bruises their ego more than being unnecessary. They complain that you're detached, but they forget they detached you from yourself long before you detached from them. They stole your softness, and now they're angry you never replaced it. They drained your empathy, and now they're thirsty for a drop of it. They burned your trust, and now they shiver in the coldness they created. Your lack of reaction feels like rejection to them, but your lack of reaction isn't about them, it's about survival. You learn that emotional investment is a luxury you give only to those who protect it, not those who weaponize it. They were the architects of the emotional walls you built, and now those walls shut them out. They thought pushing you would make you fight harder for them. Instead, it made you fight for yourself. They thought breaking you would make you crawl back. Instead, it made you walk forward without looking back. They pushed you too far and accidentally activated your self-worth. It's funny, in a tragic way, how people create the very monster they fear. They pushed you to numbness, and now they miss the person who used to feel. They pushed you into indifference, and now they crave your attention. They pushed you into silence, and now they're suffocating in it. And now you watch them from a distance, not with anger, not with hatred, but with a clarity they never anticipated. You see them acting confused, playing victim, pretending they don't know what happened. But the truth is simple. They broke something that doesn't regenerate. They pushed you so far that you stopped expecting closure. You stopped expecting effort. You stopped expecting decency. And when expectations die, emotions die with them. Now you don't feel a thing, and that's your freedom. They keep waiting for the old you to return, but that version is gone. And the version that took its place is unbothered, unshaken, and uninterested. They can't reach you, can't touch you, can't move you, because they pushed you too far. And now you don't feel a thing. Not for them, not anymore.